Hi, I'm Shanna, and welcome to Thanksgiving Cactus Project. This is a patchwork type pieced project, and it measures about, the example on the left measures about 18 inches, and the example on the right measures about 15 inches. And all the quilting is done with the new spinning ribbons templates. And I used the Westerly pinwheel tool set to cut all of the angled pieces in my Thanksgiving cactus. So these are the 8 cutting tools that make up the pinwheel tool set. In the book Exploring the Westerly Pinwheel Tool Set, you'll find over 80 different block designs and quilt suggestions. This is an amazing tool set because as you look at the blocks, they look to be exquisite paper-pieced blocks, but these blocks are all pieced just as you would any other regular patchwork type project. So let's take a look at the shapes that we have here. These are the tool set, and they are simple to use in that you cut strips of fabric the correct width, then use the template to cut the correct shape, and then piece them together as you would any other. I only used 2 of these shapes in my project, B and C. I will be including cutting directions as well as piecing directions with this project. This project was inspired by paper-pieced blocks as well as a number of photos of barn quilts that I found on the internet. This pattern seems to be called blue thistle or twisted thistle, but I think it looks like a Christmas cactus. So here we go. Okay, we'll skip the cutting and piecing for now and skip ahead to everybody's favorite, the quilting. This is a holiday cactus, and it's called Thanksgiving cactus because it blooms around Thanksgiving. So this is the inspiration for my design, and notice that it is a flower within a flower within a flower. So that's how I wanted to create my quilting design too. This is my project and the templates that I'll be using to quilt it. These are the 2 templates that make up the spinning ribbons set. They make a design that's 5.5 inches, and if you want to make the spinning ribbon, it requires the use of both templates. These templates will also make designs that are 7.5 inches and 9.5 inches. I'm just using the design I can make with 5.5 inch designs. Inspiration for the spinning ribbons templates came from their big brothers, the Spinifex 4J and T set of templates, which make designs 11.5, 9.5, and 7.5. If you'd like to know more about the Spinifex 4J and T templates, Helen Sullivan has a wonderful class on the university. It's called All Wrapped Up. There's a new feature with the spinning ribbons templates that allows them to make the larger design at 7.5 and 9.5, and that is this area here. The new templates have 2 pinholes on each template, as well as a channel that allows you to make the circle that is located in the center of this design, as you can see here on the spinning ribbons instructions. That said, I won't be using the pinholes or the side channel in this project. I will be using the etched lines on either side of the template to line things up. Back to the project. I'll be using a 40 weight embroidery thread, polyester embroidery thread, on both top and in the bobbin. I'll be stitching on a Bernina Q16 in the manual mode, so no BSR, just manual mode. I like to begin quilting at the center of my project, and this is the ruler work design I'm going to do today. So beginning at the center, I will do this 8-point spinning ribbons design. So I have 8 crosshair lines on my project, and my diagonals go right through my patchwork. So I can use my patchwork essentially as the fabric reference lines. So lines through here and the diagonals. I'm going to begin with the larger of the 2 templates. But in order to get the real spinning ribbons effect, I need to use both templates on each design. So this template works just like a Spinifex template in that it will rotate around the ruler foot, and all I have to do is just make 8 repeats, a couple of stitches to start, and I want to try to come back to the same needle hole where I started, because I'll be coming back to this center 16 times rather than just the 8 repeats of the first template. And I can go anywhere from here, so I'll just rotate around on my fabric reference lines. And try to get right back to the same place I started. For me, the trick with this template is to make sure that my ruler foot is in this position. Because there's all this space on the other side, I sometimes don't have it clearly right here, and that will throw off your design. So, gotta try and remember to do that each time I line up. So I'm just lining up the center line. Oops. Okay, reposition the camera a little bit. I'm using a very light pink thread here, hoping that it would provide enough contrast so that you could see it pretty well. Also, I'm trying to keep my stitches at about 10 stitches per inch. Because it's so contrasting, I can do these in any order. Rotate so you can see. Okay. Next up is put in the smaller template and we'll make the pretty ribbon part. So this is what the design looks like so far. Just 8 repeats using the larger spinning ribbon number 2, which is the larger of the 2 templates. And it looks like this. So to finish the ribbon looking design, I'm just going to slide the second template on this handy little needle channel right here and lower my presser foot now to stitch. Let's see. So now what I'm going to do is add a straight line here and then the smaller design in the center. So it'll look like that. So again, I have to be very careful of this little slit in my ruler foot. This is the Bernina 72S ruler foot with the slit. The slit allows me to pull up my threads and then put them back behind. So the ruler foot is really handy. I just have to be careful from needle channels. If the corner of that hits the slit just right, it stops me in my tracks. So I could also stitch doing this side first, and that would help, but we'll see. So I want to just check to be sure that when I stitch this, I'm going to have this second row of stitching come up and touch right along here. Just like that. The other thing is this set of templates being like a Spinifex template, I'm going to be going back to the center of my design 16 times. So I want to try and be careful to always go back to the center so I don't get my center all messed up with a lot of stitches. Okay. So I need to make sure that the point is matching the point. So in case I was not exactly on my fabric reference line, I need to make sure it's 1/4 inch apart and that my points are hitting the same point. When I'm stitching with this second template, I often have to push the template back toward the center just a bit so that I can hit both points at the same spot. Well, all those stitches that I put in with the previous stitching pulls up the quilt just a little bit, so you have to be careful lining up the second template. I'm checking the reference lines here on the template, and I don't quite match up on this side, but I'm perfectly aligned there. And the template is not touching the back of the ruler foot because I'm matching the top points so that the ribbon will look good. So the center design is now complete. Let's get the template off and take a look. This is 8 repeats of the spinning ribbon. This is the package insert that came with our spinning ribbons templates, and this is the design that we just stitched. So for the next part, I want to put a frame around the center. I want a frame of spinning ribbons to go in this area of the project. And the finished frame will look like this. But to start, I could start with just this part of the frame. And what that involves is using 3 repeats of this, just what I did here, and then adding this ribbon sashing on either side. So this is actually like half of the 4th repeat. So that's the template number 2 and then template number 1. Same for the other side. This is just like stitching another 1/2 of a repeat. Like the center, this design requires the use of both templates to form the ribbons. However, when stitching the sashings on either side, well, that doesn't get me back to the center unless I change templates. And I can go out on one of the sides, come back using template number 1, do template number 1 here, and come back with template number 2, so that I could stitch all of this in just one unit and change templates like 2 to 3 times. But then to do each of the 4 individual designs, well, that's changing the templates 8 to 12 times. And I basically like to find the easiest way to do something. But I was thinking my sashing touches and on all the corners, so I could start with template number 2 and stitch all of template number 2 and go on to the next template number 2, go on to the next, and I would come all the way back to here with template number 2, slip on template number 1, and then go around. That's what I think I'm going to do. And I want to change the design of my frame just a little bit. So it's going to go to looking like this. I just want to add 3 repeats right up here in this corner. And I'm going to be coming right to that point, and I want my 3 repeats to start right there. So I could add those 3 repeats in while I'm going around my frame 2 different times. So let's try that. See how it works. Just cut my threads. So bring the bobbin up. And you can see I'm using a dark bobbin thread, or my darker backing. I can start my frame anywhere, but I'm going to start it here and say that this is this. So this is just going to be right here. So I'll put my needle down at the very top of that stitching. And drop my needle. Yeah. And I do always like to start out my spinning ribbons using this larger template, just so I can make sure that what I'm seeing, where I'm putting the first stitching down, it's the largest, so the smaller one fits right in the center, so I know my spacing's going to be correct. So I just line up my center line here, and Notice I just have one fabric reference line, and that's all I'm going to need to stitch my 3. And because what is nice about this template is I have this template reference mark here and here. So if I want to, I've done the center, I can do one to the side and just line up this reference line on the template with my previous stitching. And there's my second repeat. And then just flip it around and line up this reference line right here on top of the center repeat, and go ahead and stitch my okay. So I want to stitch the spinning ribbon sashing as though it were going to be my next repeat. All I have to do is swing this around. So I'll be stitching only one half of the template. That's the half that is closer to me, and I'm going to end my stitching at the fabric reference line. That is the chalk line that you can see. The etched line on my template is also lined up perfectly on the previously stitched rotation. And I stopped right on my diagonal reference line here, which is just where I want it to be. So I can move over to my next, I'm going to call this the leaf of my flower. So I'm going to do the 3 repeats on each of the green on each of the leaves. So to get to my center here, I will just put my template this way and come right back here. Oops. Come make sure that I'm lining up. And this time I'm using this side of my template. And you see what I already forgot. I already forgot to put those little guys in. Okay, new plan. The next flower I will put the extra 3, so you can see how that works. So I've got my ribbon sashing there. I always start with the center because that is the reference line I have on my fabric. Just want to make sure my threads are secured. Here's one. Follow my template reference line here. Match up the reference line and make sure my ruler foot is tucked where it's supposed to be. Okay. So 3 repeats on my leaf. So now I am going to line it up as though I'm doing my number 4 repeats, and make sure that I'm going to be landing right on my diagonal line. So So it looks pretty good. And there we are. So while I'm here, I'm going to put the 3 flower repeats. I do that the same way I did the leaf flowers, and that is slit. So if I hold it, you can avoid that. My sashing is going to be coming from the center here to go out that direction, which looks like I'm lining my template up like this and making sure I'm going to come and stitch right back there, and then okay, line up template center line along my 1 fabric reference line. And you can see that I'm not going to be running into any of my previous stitching. That's good. And that's one of the reasons I like using the larger template first, is if I use a smaller template, I might forget actually place the design on top of some other stitching. So, okay, so there are the 3 going to the diagonal. Actually, I'm lining up this reference line and then be stitching from here to the diagonal. There we are. So 3 more. And then start with this edge and go to the center. I had to add 1 to 2 stitches right there. Line it up like I'm just doing my next repeat. And make sure I'm going to land on the diagonal. Okay. And I made a mistake there because I ran into, must have been seam allowance, and I let it jar my foot. So I'm just going to go back now and stitch what it should be. And I can take out those stitches a little bit. And look at this. This is where I started. So now I'm just going to start this opposite end so it looks like my spinning ribbon is coming out this direction. And stitch back to the center here. Okay, so aside from a little bit off course here, which I will take out, I now can just switch out my template and go, I can go the same way I was going or the other direction. Just whichever, yeah. Yeah. So here is the spot where I forgot to put my 3 little things on. And this is what I have so far. So I took out my stitches here, and I'm at the point where I started. So now I'm going to put in spinning ribbons template 1, the smaller, and I can go ahead and stitch the inner portion of my ribbon, and I'll start stitching here and move this direction, and then should come all the way back to here. I want to make sure lining up point to point and making sure my ruler foot is where it's supposed to be. So as I rotate my template around, I can line up the etched markings for this template just as I did for the larger template. So the next step to finish up this little section is to complete the sashing. And right now, if I look at the template reference line, without moving the template, the etched line is in place to make the sashing. So simply rotate the template as if I'm about to stitch another repeat, or at least half a repeat. The only thing I have to make sure is I'm going to come right to that diagonal line. But the diagonal line is more than a 1/4 inch away from the edge of the template, so I'm going to need to decrease the space. So to decrease that space, I'm going to move the template backwards toward my ruler foot. But then you'll be able to notice that the back of the ruler foot is no longer resting against the edge of the template. But that's okay, because this will work. And there I am on the diagonal. Oops, but short. Kind of goofed that up. Oh well. So the next one, flip my template around. So the template is in place, and notice here, if you look again at the etched lines on the template, that it completes this next petal. I'm using my spacing gauge about this line and this line, and I can see about a 1/4 inch from both lines, so that should work. Okay, that's better. Okay, now I'm back to where I began, where I started stitching this second time around the part that I'm calling the frame. So this section of my design is completed, well, except for the part that I forgot. And the center is completed, so what we really have finished is this much of the design, except for that one little corner piece. So my plan is to proceed by putting the design on the diagonal that I forgot to do earlier. So to do that, doing just a jump stitch so that I can place those 3 little repeats right here on the diagonal line. The little trim designs. Same design. And as with all the others, 3 little repeats, of course beginning in the center. Sides as this completes the frame. This is the finished design, and everything in the purple box has been completed. So now just have to do a few of the similar designs around the outside of our frame. This corner is the last part of the frame that I completed, and then I backtracked to the top of the number 1 template. So from here I can start the outside designs that are going to finish off the project. This is the entire project design, and everything outside the purple square is what needs to be stitched next. These outside edge designs don't connect, so I'll be stitching each design separately and connecting them with jump stitches. This is the area that I backtracked. Now I can begin exactly where my needle is placed, stitching the same way as all the others, that is, beginning in the center with the larger template. This is where my ribbon is a little bit different in that this doesn't look like a, this is much closer in here, and I'm doing sort of the bottom edge of the templates as opposed to the top edges of the templates here. So just take a look at that. The bottom edges of the template, and to get it a little closer, I needed some measurement to go by, so I'm just going to use this point on my patchwork, on my project. And I'm going to get my stitches just on or close to that point. Now, I can at this point backtrack and do the other. Well, let's do that. I'm just going to backtrack. This will be double stitched. On the opposite side, same idea. I don't have to double stitch this one because this is where I could insert the number 1 template and finish the ribbon. I'm just going to do a jump stitch to next door, and this is a single. I'm going to use this point Now I'm just lining up my point. So that's all I need to do the rest of the way around. So on top of the green, I will put a single, and on top of the pink, on top of the flower, I'll do the triple repeat. Get the rest of it on here and be right back. So this is the finished project and my design of a flower within a flower within a flower. And this is a printout of the design that I stitched out so that you can see a little bit more detail. I hope you enjoy Thanksgiving Cactus Project. See you next time. Bye.
Hi, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate this amazing education. Shanna always does an outstanding job sharing her amazing designs, and this is just stunning what you can do with that spinning ribbon template. Shanna, thank you so much for sharing that. We're going to go ahead and remind everyone, if you're a club member, you do get 20% off the pinwheel cutting tool set. And that is what was used to be able to create this particular block. Sean, I believe there is some additional instruction available on the university, or will be shortly, for piecing this particular block. Then the quilting instructions are available as well. So there will be a class. I shared a link with everyone to be able to access all of Shauna's classes on the university earlier. This class should be available shortly to be able to purchase if that's something that you'd like to go ahead and have in your treasure trove for life. And then we do have some amazing opportunities for giveaways and winning opportunities all week long. So I did want to go ahead and post a few links for you to be able to take advantage of those as well. So to this week, we are doing our buy the AccuQuilt Go die and get a spinning ribbon embroidery collection for free. And that is a pretty amazing opportunity because that's a $75 value. If you're an AccuQuilt user, then you're going to absolutely love having this die because this die is going to give you the opportunity for being able to cut all of these pieces super, super easily. Um, but I don't know that it actually has the pieces that Shauna used. I believe you have to get the pinwheel tool set to be able to actually cut the additional pieces. So I would check that out on our website. I am posting a link to our deals as well as our enter to win, because we are giving away that cutting ruler set this week, along with the spinning ribbon embroidery collection. So I want to make sure you all are have the opportunity to enter to win that cutting ruler set. And then, of course, we have our partner giveaways going on right now. We do have the opportunity to win a Janome Skyline sewing machine and a whole lot more, including an AccuQuilt Go cutter. So that's happening at the end of December. So all kinds of opportunities to win this quarter. together. So, again, thank you all so much for joining us. If you haven't already, go over to our blog page. We are currently having taking votes for our Westerly by Me calendar for 2026, and there are some stunning projects that have been submitted for our Westerly by Me calendar, and it's a viewer's choice. So we want you to tell us what your favorites are. So I'm going to post a link to that now as well, and we'll hopefully have you join in voting for the calendar submissions for 2026. So again, have a wonderful day. Thank you so much, Shauna, for this awesome class. That was just a beautiful work of art. And we are looking forward to more amazing education all week. We've got Kathy Clausen joining us. She's creating a hostess apron tomorrow, and she's going to be doing some embroidered napkins using that spinning ribbon collection on Thursday. And then we've got Kate Quinn coming in on Friday. So join us for all. And we've got some awesome educators here at So Steady, and they're always eager to share what they're coming up with and get you excited about your next project. Have a wonderful holiday season, guys. Next week, we start our Black Friday deals, and you'll definitely want to stick around for that as well. Thanks so much. Have a wonderful day. Bye.